The moment has arrived.
The red light is on.
I'm sorry?
I'm Dave Van Auken.
Maddie Levine here.
This one, Elle Dawson.
Hey guys.
The heart and soul of the show, Ryan Quinn.
Happy to be back, like you said.
Gillian the Savage Robertson.
Boom. I'm Jonathan Ramlakan. We got Bree Eckert.
Hey guys.
We got my boy Blake here.
Hello, people of the interweb.
The Fight Bananas Show, every Tuesday, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern on the Fight Bananas YouTube channel.
I love that intro. What's up, guys? We are live. What's up? I'm Dave Van Auken. So much to get into. It says 1 to 3. We might go for hours and hours and hours. I think I have to stop around 5. I have to go get the kids. But we might go for 4 hours today, guys. UFC 294 is this weekend. We all thought it was going to be Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev in a rematch for the UFC Lightweight Championship. We all thought it was going to be Khamzat Chimaev versus Paulo Costa in the co-main event in the UFC middleweight in the UFC middleweight division. The card has been upside down and flipped in circles. It's so much to get into. So, guys, it's not just me. We have a huge lineup. Second hour, guys, we have 3 guests coming on the show. We have Gillian the Savage Robertson, of course. We have Raphael Esparza, who does all these odds, and he does behind the scenes for multiple huge books that you guys bet on. He's coming in around 2:30. 2:45, we have our guy Keelin, who's all about the Misfit Boxing. Guys, Logan Paul and Dylan Danis. They can't make the show for the first hour. We got to talk about Edson Barbosa, right? We got to talk about Alexander Volkanovski. We'll get into that, but he's coming at 2:45. First hour, myself, Maddie Levine's coming out at 1:30, but coming on right now, I always say she's the boss. She's the fight and the grit of the show. We got ourselves Elle Dawson. What's up, Elle?
What's up? I'm super excited. Dude, the intro is so cool. It gives me freaking goosebumps. I love it.
I love it. And that's like the first. We're just getting into it. The guy who does it for us, he's like, dude, just give me a couple weeks, like a couple shows that we do. Then he's going to cut scenes in it and stuff of that nature. So it's only going to get better and better and better and stuff of that nature. Dude, for one, I love the hoodie. We do live in Florida, but it's freaking cold outside. I love the Dare hoodie. Dude, Money Moki Moicano shirt. I told you guys, we are buying shirts. We're doing another free giveaway. Let's start that off the rip. Another free shirt. I don't want to spoil what shirt we're buying on. It's a hint. It's in the second hour. So we are going to buy another shirt. We're going to give another shirt for free. All you have to do is sub this channel, screenshot any person that's watching it, screenshot, put it on their Instagram stories or their Facebook stories. We'll see you and we'll send you a free shirt. We'll DM you what size you want. We'll send you a free shirt. But Elle, first of all, how are you doing on this lovely, lovely Tuesday afternoon?
I'm good. I am in the middle of Miami somewhere, which is really far from my house. Grant's getting a tattoo today. He's finishing up his sleeve. So okay. I'm just hanging out in Miami for the day. So I get to do the podcast here in my car. How are you?
I'm doing great. There's like so much, right? The one thing I do love about the show, and I can't wait, and we have like 2-3 hours to get into it. So it's amazing. But like so much happened over the weekend. And it's like, I wanted the show to be like Sunday. And I'm like, okay, I got to wait. I got to get all these thoughts in. Like, just to have Usman in the co-main event and Volkanovski's then back in the main. It's like so much stuff happened. It's like, okay, I got to relax. I got to get all these things in. Tuesday, we might have to have the show daily. Like, pretty soon. I'm sorry, Fight Bananas people. This might have to become 1 to 3 daily. Maybe one day. We'll see. But, first of all, I have a little spiel. I want to get to it, but I just want your take. Right off the rip, Oliveira gets sliced in the eye. Costa's elbow out. More pictures. We just dropped a picture literally just an hour and a half ago. Those guys are injured. They can't fight. Volkanovski, Usman went in. Your first initial gut feeling when that happened. What was your first initial take?
I mean, it just makes sense. Like I was butthurt for Gamrot because the dude was the backup. How often does the backup get skipped over to be the replacement for a fight? But there's no way Volkanovski would have been the backup for this fight. It doesn't make sense for him. You know, like, and most people don't want the title shot on short notice or they can't make the weight, you know, like this was the best option and it absolutely makes sense. Everybody wants to see Volkanovski fight Islam again. We saw Islam look mortal for the first time. Now, I don't think the people who thought that Volk was going to get it done the first time are going to be very happy this time either. It's in Abu Dhabi. It's short notice for Volkanovski. He couldn't beat him with a full camp. But that being completely that aside, I absolutely think it's going to be a banger. Again, it was a fantastic fight the first time around. I think it'll be no different this time. If anything, I think Islam will look a little bit fresher in those later rounds without the travel and the huge weight cut, being, fighting a little bit closer to home. But yeah, man, it just makes sense. I will say this: if you had told me a year ago that Khamzat Chimaev and Usman were going to be fighting for a chance to fight Sean Strickland for the 185-pound title, I would have told you you're a freaking idiot. Yeah, because who would have thought that that's where we'd be right now? Like, just insane.
I love this sport. So here we go. Here's my 3-minute spiel. Elle, I want you just to, it's a long journey, so just stay with me, and then, just I love it at the end or attack it at the end, but just stick with me. So we, the MMA community, I don't know why, we're just so obsessed with like GOAT and pound for pound and rank #1 in the world. We're just obsessed with it. We just are as a community. And sometimes we are as well, and we talk about it on shows, and as media outlets, we are. So when both fighters, so Alexander Volkanovski and Kamaru Usman both got these fights kind of in 12 hours from each other. Right off the rip, people talked about Volkanovski, right? So where I'm going with this is they talked about a fighter. They're like, man, this fighter is moving up in weight, and this fighter, is one of the greatest fighters in their weight class ever. Their fighter is a GOAT of their weight class and has defended their title multiple times in their weight class. And man, if this fighter moves up in weight and fights this boogeyman, has never lost in this weight class, and this is unbelievable. Like, this fighter would join, because a lot of people think, I know a lot of old school people won't like this, but a lot of people think Khabib Nurmagomedov, George St. Pierre, and John Jones is up in this little Mount Rushmore. And then a lot of people Royce Gracie and, maybe it's Amanda Nunes, and a lot of people, Anderson Silva, but a lot of people think the three. And a lot of people think if this person wins Saturday night, this fourth person could join this person. Someone looking at you weird? Elle, do I have to fight someone?
There's a truck that I genuinely thought was about to back up into me and might do it again. You keep going.
Okay. This is a good rant.
I'm like ready to honk. Okay, he's good. He stopped.
I'm going to honk. So this person, if they win Saturday and kind of keep going, this person has a chance to be the greatest of all time. This person has a chance to be it. And everyone thinks it's Volkanovski. I'm going the different way. I think it's Kamaru Usman. I think Usman, if he wins Saturday night, who's a huge underdog, and I really want to give Usman a lot of love, a lot of respect, a lot of his flowers. If he beats Khamzat Chimaev Saturday night in the middleweight division, moving up a weight class on short notice, Usman is one of the, if not the greatest welterweight ever. Him and GSP was battling back and forth. Dana White was giving his flowers. I think Usman is this guy who's kind of like this. He's kind of the fourth guy out of these four, Chimaev and Makhachev and Volkanovski. I think Usman's this mystery guy out of the four.
So I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why you're wrong. I'm just kidding. No, so I agree that this is huge for Usman. I will not disagree with you there. But we're really going to put Khamzat Chimaev and Islam on the same playing field. Like, look at the strength of schedule. To date, Khamzat's toughest fight has been Gilbert Burns, who absolutely is a phenomenal fighter, but he had an incredibly close fight with Gilbert. The only person we've seen win a moment of a fight against Islam since he was knocked out is Volkanovski. Right. Like, he's been exceedingly more dominant than Khamzat against much, much higher level competition. So I think at this point, I don't think we can put them on the same playing field, not because of anything that Usman's done, but because we haven't, Khamzat doesn't have the belt, one.
Right.
And honestly, I'm kind of shocked that people have kind of written off Kamaru Usman here. Like, we've seen Khamzat not be able to take people down. Like Gilbert, we've seen him. He wasn't able to take down Ikram. I know that wasn't in the UFC, but right. Usman is one of the best wrestlers in the division. So I definitely think he's being counted out, and I think it will be really big for him should he win this fight. but I don't know that it's quite as much of GOAT status as what Volk is looking at here.
Of course. Now, if going forward, I agree. If Volkanovski defeats Makhachev in Abu Dhabi, like the GOAT status, of course, is like
greatest of all time.
Insane. It's insane. If Usman defeats Chimaev and then 5 months later in February or March defeats Strickland and gets the middleweight championship, does that do you like that?
GOAT status.
Okay,
GOAT status. Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Okay. Two belts, GOAT status. And he could absolutely do that. Like, he absolutely could, and so that's the fight more so than this fight. You also have to remember that Islam is a lightweight. Khamzat is not a middleweight. Right. I don't care what anybody says. He's never fought at middleweight. Right. He had the one weird weight cut fiasco, never had any other problems making weight. He's a 70 pounder. So is Usman. And they're both big 70 pounders. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think there's this huge size discrepancy between the two of them like there is between Volk and Islam. Right. A little bit back to Usman and stuff is happening right now. Real quick, and I will talk about it throughout the whole show, guys. So pumped. Guys, make sure you share the link. Make sure you like the link. All this stuff. We'll be here for the next 2 hours. Raphael Esparza is coming out at 2:30. He's a mastermind. He really does a lot of he creates the lines. The sites that you make your bets on, he's the mastermind behind a lot of these sites. Raphael Esparza coming on around 2:30. So I can't wait to pick his brain about this. So Usman is a huge underdog on this. If Usman, he's talked about it, like he doesn't even want to beat Chimaev, of course, Saturday as an underdog. 2, he thinks he's defeated Sean Strickland in the past, and he, just to be brutally honest, he thinks he would run through Strickland again in the spring. Whoever's the champ, he says that after beating Strickland, he says, he told the media today or yesterday, I think it was late night yesterday because it's going around the MMA circuit. He wants to go back to welterweight. He wants his last fight in 2024. Like he wants to fight early 2024 for Strickland. Then he wants his last fight 2024, November, December against whoever the welterweight championship is. He says he doesn't care if it's Colby Covington, if he doesn't care Leon Edwards. He thinks he deserves it, especially if he is the middleweight championship. And he goes, that's it. That's my last one. I got one left in me, one weight cut down to 70 in me. If he does that, if he goes down, just imagine his next 3 too, especially against Leon. And I know maybe the UFC wouldn't want that because he lost to the man twice. And there isn't a lot of – dude, if Usman beats Chimaev, Usman, and Edwards, and this is where I'm going with – I know maybe I'm giving Usman too much time off the rip. I told you guys I'm going here, and I do want to give Edson Barbosa, and we want to give Volkanovski some love, and Maddie Levine's coming in 15 minutes. If Usman goes on this 3-fight win streak, love, that's insane. And also, too, just think about the divisions for the next 15 months could be in a lot of limbo. So I don't know if the UFC wants to go that route, but it could be one of these runs. He could lose in 5 days, and this is null and void, but it could be a run for a lifetime. Absolutely. And I think people have also decided for some reason that just because Usman beat Colby, that there's no way Colby beats Leon. Styles make fights, and Colby Covington is a tough matchup for Leon Edwards. He is Usman's still high level wrestling like Usman's, but with more pressure and maybe not as much top control, but more consistent pressure takedowns. Like he wears on you. He's going to wear on a guy like Leon. So there's a good chance that we could even see that. We could see Usman go and win the 185-pound belt and then go back down and find himself fighting a guy that he's already beat twice in Colby Covington. We could absolutely see that. The dude maybe retires, maybe goes back to 85, but retires with 2 belts. That would be pretty much a fairy tale, right?
Really would. All right, guys, we'll go right back into UFC 294. Like I said, we got a ton of time to get into, but I do want, and I know I'll give you 5 minutes at the round 125 because I know you got something salty. Maybe your husband wants to talk about, so we give you there. But let's talk about something we just saw a couple of days ago. Maybe one of the best fights of the year. American top team Grizzly veteran Edson Barbosa, who got 10-8'd in the first round. Sadiq Youssef looked phenomenal. It was wild. We're watching the fight. We're texting the fight back and forth. You gave me one of the funniest texts back. I almost posted it, but it was something you and I will live with forever. We have it between ourselves. It was weird. Sadiq Youssef gets a massive, kind of striking blow. Could end the fight, but it was so weird how he kind of fell on Edson and didn't strike. Like, he didn't land that last strike. He didn't end the fight where he should have. Kind of maybe didn't want to blow the gasket. Maybe should have, because then he let Barbosa get in that zombie mode for round 2. And then something happened at the end of round 2 that really turned the fight around. And then that was it. Edson was on a roll. He did a spinning wheel kick in round 3 and round 4, took the fight over, won a unanimous decision. We went back and forth on it. Just an incredible, incredible performance. He keeps on moving up the rankings. I have a great fight when I think the UFC should really go next with Edson going forward in spring of 2024. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on Edson Barbosa's incredible performance.
Man, yeah, he's just a dog. He's a veteran. There's not a whole lot that a guy like Edson Barbosa has not seen. And I will say, I loved Sadiq's game plan in round 1. The difference between round 1 and the rest of the fight for him was the space.
Yeah.
Barbosa had no room to kick in round 1 because of the pressure. And Sadiq did a beautiful job stuffing that. And when Barbosa can't kick on you, that takes away one of his literally his best weapon. And he did such a good job with that. And then in round 2, he just never quite closed the gap again. And once Barbosa started finding those low kicks, finding those body shots, finding those spinning back kicks, he just took off with it. And I actually saw something really interesting as well. Sadiq Yusuff was keeping the back leg with his back leg. And I've never seen that before. And I'm like, I've been playing with it. We're like, what does this do? But I actually think it worked pretty well in the first round. It kind of stuffed Barbosa coming in and throwing that back kick. The way Barbosa kicks, there's no curve to it. It's a straight line. And that's why it's so fast. He switches completely differently than most people. Most people they completely switch to southpaw to throw their switch kick. He doesn't do that. He leaves his front shoulder forward, which may not make it as powerful, but it is so much faster. And speed kills. Barbosa's speed with his kicks absolutely won him that fight.
Insane, crazy. The performance with someone who's been in the cage for that long and been in so many wars and so many great fights, for just to kind of lose the round to a younger, more, I don't want to say more athletic, but just more athletic, more explosive. You think the cardio better fighter in Sadiq Yusuff, a rising star in the scene in the weight class, and to lose that way in the first 7 minutes of the fight, and then just totally 180 the rest of the fight. Just hats off. I think one of the best performances of the year. Maybe that's an overstatement. Maybe that's super hyperbolic. I just thought that was a great performance. I just love that. And this is where I'm going with it. Our great guys, Jonathan and Blake in the post-fight show, they threw out a couple names, and Jonathan really said this. And as soon as he said, I'm like, John, absolutely nailed it. Great matchmaking 101. Edson Barbosa, Calvin Kattar, spring of 2024. Give it to me. Give it to me. That's violent. Give it to me.
Yes, absolutely. That is a fan's delight.
Absolutely. Anything else on that card? I knew you were watching it. I know, a great female fighter at American Top Team. Is that 5 in a row for Carolina? Did I see that right? 5 in a row for her?
I think so. Yeah.
She lost 4 in a row. Almost got cut. I heard. They kind of told the story. It was something about I don't want to get too much into it. It's what it is. What it is. If she took a fight, one of those things, almost got cut, right? Whatever. Let's get out of the weeds a little bit. 4 in a row is a bad thing in the fight game. Didn't go her way. She got another chance, took a tough fight, won, then won again. Now it's 5 wins in a row on a great winning streak. Really find her mojo. I love it. Just American Top Team. I know you've been on the mats with her. Just that's a great win streak in the UFC.
Yeah, no, and she's very underrated. She really is. She's such a well-rounded fighter. I think a lot of people think of Carolina she's she's a good kickboxer, and she absolutely is. But man, she's just very well-rounded. She's very strong. She's tough, and it's really, she's a wonderful human. So it's so nice getting to see her, just succeed right now.
Love it. Okay, let's do your 3-4 minutes saltiness with your wonderful lightweight husband, and then let's kind of do a little Volk Makhachev, and then Maddie will be right in, and then we can kind of jump into it. So we had a little phone call and you guys were driving to get a tattoo. I love it. I wake up every day. I work on my sleeve tattoo and I have to talk myself out of it every single day. Grant's man enough to keep getting the tattoo. But he was a little salty today on the phone call. Why was he so salty?
So Grant has done several interviews like this where we just talk about how arbitrary and kind of silly some of the rankings are. Like the rankings very rarely make sense. So before Grant fought Bobby Green, Grant was ranked number 10. He has not lost other than to Bobby
number
Green.
10 in the world. Number
10 in the world. Number 10 in the world.
That's great.
He's not lost this is his first loss in 7 years. He has yet to lose. Before the Bobby Green fight, he had yet to lose in the UFC. So no losses, one draw, but no losses. And now he is unranked a week after, like a week and a half after his fight. We're friends with Drew. I'm super happy Drew's back in the rankings. He absolutely deserves it. But RDA shouldn't be in there, man. RDA is a welterweight. He's been a welterweight for several fights. It just doesn't make sense that he's still in there. And while Drew absolutely deserves to be ranked, he is coming off of before this fight, he was coming off of a loss, so he's only on a 1-fight win streak. The guy he just knocked out doesn't have a win since over 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. And that's how it just doesn't make a whole lot of logical sense when we look at a lot of these rankings. And it's very clear that several of the people voting on these journalists, a lot of them just don't know what they're doing. I would absolutely pay money to hear the arguments behind some of the rankings that we've seen, how long it's taken them to remove guys who are inactive, who are in other weight classes, etc. So it's and if we're using the logic that Drew beat Bobby, who beat Grant, well then Drew should be ranked above Bobby at this point. It's just there's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just it comes and goes, and I'm sure Grant will fight again and get ranked again. It's not a big deal, but it just proves our point that the rankings, other than the champ, maybe number 1, number 2, they just don't mean a lot.
I thought about this. So we were talking, and then it's the best when you're having a great conversation and you're you have a really good fun debate, and then afterwards you're like, oh man, that was so good. So we were having this fun conversation 2 hours ago, and then afterwards I'm like, oh my god, this is so good. So after we had this, I'm like, so this weekend is a huge UFC pay-per-view. It's in Abu Dhabi. This is a big weekend for the UFC. You can just tell by the media, and I even have some analytics already on it this weekend. So Makhachev, the lightweight division, kind of their limelight division, maybe the best division in the last decade. So their champion is fighting a guy who's not even in the rankings. Volkanovski's not even ranked. So that's one. Then their co-main event is it's literally Dana White goes, it's for the number 1 contendership of the middleweight division. None of these guys are ranked in the middleweight division. So it's who?
They don't have wins. They don't even have a win in the middleweight division.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. So it's whoever wins, and we both say both these guys are phenomenal. Both these guys are you can argue are top 15 pound for pound type of fighters, but whoever wins, even if Chimaev dominates Usman or Usman defeats Chimaev, that's a great win, but it's not a great win for the middleweight division. Is that better than what Robert
DDP?
Yeah.
Screw DDP. That poor guy just became completely obsolete. Doesn't matter that he just demolished Robert Whittaker, one of the goats of the sport,
I'm so happy you say that. I even have that note in my phone, and I'm happy you said that. This is what the show is. I want to take it there. Drew pick is July weekend, International Fight Week. Maybe kind of their Super Bowl weekend, NBA Finals, whatever analogy you want to do. It's their biggest weekend. He's there. He's fighting Bobby Knuckles. He took the chance. He kind of had they literally had Israel Adesanya on notice. He walks into the cage. They have that moment. They have that spar off. Joe Rogan's there with the microphone. Boom. They have it made. They had this date. And let's just be honest, DDP he is hurt or was injured. He wasn't 100%. I do get that when, you're a fighter, you can say this, you're probably never 100%, going into a fight. So I get that to a certain extent, but it's he probably doesn't want to fight Israel Adesanya at 70%. And and he probably, instead of saying, you know, he wanted to be a more healthier than less healthy, declines the fight. They moved on. They moved to Strickland, and now the UFC's like, oh, you moved on? We're moving on. It's kind of like it's like an ex-girlfriend. It's like, oh, you're moving on, I'm moving on. And it's I don't know. Like, I don't know what he does. He really doesn't. He probably fights like Jared Cannonier.
That's what I was going to say. That makes the most sense. Because Cannonier, we don't want to see Cannonier fight Izzy. We already saw him fight Strickland recently, and it wasn't great, to be honest. Like, it just wasn't a great fight, you know? And I think he gets that. Cannonier is close to that title shot to get that rematch against Strickland. But, like, because the first fight wasn't super exciting, and there's this really interesting matchup on the horizon between Khamzat and Usman, who everybody's been begging to have, like, everybody's been wanting Chimaev to have a shot at the title for God knows how long, you know, but he's been so inactive that he can't, which that's kind of bizarre to me too. Like, it's not like when people were upset that Islam got a title shot off of beating Bobby Green, that wasn't Islam's fault. Islam was taking every fight he could, and guys were pulling out, you know, like it happens. You can only slaughter the sheep that's brought to you, right? Khamzat's not really the same situation. Like, people have been lining up. There were plenty of people calling out Khamzat. He just wasn't active. And I don't know if that was on his end or the UFC's, but the point is, it's not like they just couldn't find him a matchup, because I know there were guys that wanted that payday, you know? So it's a very interesting, weird thing going on with the middleweight division.
And now, you know, this, like, you guys in the room knows, you know, like, you guys know what's up. And I've heard this forever. It's funny, I'm wearing this shirt. Like, literally forever, I've heard Moicano can go. Like, I've heard this from guys that are, you know, from the Contender Series, and guys who went there, like, you know, guys who did not train at American Top Team, they go there for the first time. They're like, holy shit, like, Moicano's like ranked 14th, and he's the best guy in the gym. Like, this guy cleans me up and training and all this stuff. So it's like, everyone knows inside those rooms who can go. Right. Like, back to the Makhachev thing, like, everyone knows he's a guy. Like, everyone knows he was the next guy. And you know what I mean? And same thing, I think in the UFC, in a way, everyone knows Chimaev is a guy. And you know, and if he beats Usman, like, I just think, like, what are we doing? Like, if, you know, he beat Burns, you know, he beat Holland, and I know it sounds crazy, and whatever it is, he's beat Usman. Those are three good names. And I just think everyone knows he's a guy, and, you know, it is what it is. Talking about a guy, let's talk about a lovely lady. She started the show last week with us. She's jumping in with us right now. Just an absolute stud of the team. I think her husband, Ross, is doing something awesome this past weekend. He's had a really cool, what is it called? Like, when you do like a, like when you have a, let's ask Maddie. Not a festival, but I'm butchering it. I know. Maddie's laughing at me. Maddie, what was your husband doing?
I think it's called a seminar. Are you looking for that word?
I was like, what are you getting at? Is he out at Burning Man? Like,
first of all, the amount of words that slip Dave's mind on a regular basis is phenomenal. But the word is seminar, and yes, he did an incredible job this weekend. Had so many amazing coaches come in. Joel Valtellini came in, which was incredible. Just a whole bunch of people. A lot of martial arts happening this weekend. Just wanted to show off my shirt for a second.
Show it. We're a shirt company. Like,
check out my cats and my dog.
That's awesome.
Right? Isn't that the coolest shirt you've ever seen? I would just like to pause and just say, Elle, I think it is absolutely bonkers that Grant is not ranked. Crazy. That's all I have to say. You guys took it away and talked about it, but holy fucking shit. And I think this is a classic case of the fair weather fans' ability to just like only see what's in front of them. They're like goldfish.
Recency bias. Yeah.
Thank you. It's the average fan is a goldfish. They have the memory of a goldfish. They see, Grant got knocked out. Well, he sucks. Like, no, that's not how this fucking thing works. That's my rant for today. Welcome in. Welcome.
What's up, Miss
What's
Maddie
up?
Levine? Dude, I had the
Coming
best
out firing,
intro for
baby.
you.
Let's go.
I know.
Set him on fire.
Jeez, awesome. All right, so I think we did our UFC 81 Vegas recap. Edson Barbosa is a dog, literally insane. We did a lot of Usman and Chimaev. You know, let's get into the main event, UFC 294, Saturday, 2 p.m. I cannot stress that enough. I had this on the banner. Look how professional I am. Look at this.
I know.
banner
Look
at
at
the
you,
bottom.
man. I was reading
2
that.
p.m. Eastern, guys. It's
I was
not
like, who
a
did that
night
for him?
interview. It's in Abu Dhabi, so make sure you do not miss it. Saturday in the afternoon. Maddie, I asked Elle the same question when it was Oliveira and Makhachev. When you heard it was Alexander Volkanovski, what was the first thing that came to your head?
Pumped. So excited.
Okay, cool. I think that's kind of like everyone's been like that. I think everyone's been like that.
It's just so exciting to see him on a card ever. I mean, call me biased, okay? But whenever he's on a fight card, it's exciting. He's the type of martial artist that fans love to follow because he works hard, he plays hard, he's funny, he's got a character. But he's not just going in there for a paycheck. He's going in there looking to win no matter who it is. So whenever he's on a fight card, I'm watching.
Awesome. Maddie with that fire shirt. It is very true. Guys, we are doing another free shirt giveaway. We are telling who the shirt is in the next hour. Another free shirt giveaway. So
And you'll get a shirt with Maddie's pets on it.
Woo! I'll make it happen. They're the real stars.
I kind of want one.
Dude, Facebook Marketplace. I was a little worried about it. I was like, I'm definitely getting scammed right now, and I'm definitely like getting my bank account drained. But it's for the shirt. It's for the shirt.
Did you just keep on hitting the link?
Yeah.
Like on the Facebook message, hit the link. Don't ever hit the link.
So I was reading up on the main event, the new main event, and the guys over at MMA Fighting had a really cool topic that I think
Who's that?
MMA. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, who are they? I think this is something that the community should be talking about. That the MMA community should be talking about in general is who has more to lose, right? Is it Makhachev or Volk? And so at first you're like, oh, this is an easy answer. But the more I thought about it, I don't know, I'm kind of going back and forth. So, Elle, what's your answer on that?
Wait, Elle, you ready? On three. Wait. On three. You ready? 1, 2, 3. Makhachev.
Volk.
Oh!
I'm
What did I
sorry.
say, motherfuckers? What did I
I
say?
was thinking, why would Volk have anything to lose in my head? And I said his name. Yes, Islam has more to lose.
Okay.
My bad. No, Volk has nothing to lose. I'm so sorry. I'm a cold.
Damn it, I thought I had something there.
You got nothing, girl. No,
let's hear it.
If Volk loses, he is still the GOAT featherweight. There's the only guy that we don't know for sure is not beat or can or cannot beat Volk is Ilya Topuria right now. There's nobody else in the conversation at 145 right now for Volkanovski. So he still has GOAT status. Islam loses big if he loses to Volk right now. Everything. So now there has to be a rematch. And even worse, if let's say something happens and Islam can't do the immediate rematch, or they decide that they don't want to do the immediate rematch, there's a very good chance Charles Oliveira beats Alexander Volkanovski. And then that takes Islam down 2 pegs. So absolutely Islam has the most to lose here. Volk loses nothing losing this fight. Of course, like he does because it sucks to lose, and the dude is a natural competitor, you can tell. But I just don't see how he has as much to lose. Where's I know Maddie's got an opposite argument here.
To be honest and truly, I agree with what you're saying. I think, especially with such a short notice of fights for Volk, like Makhachev should be able to seal this in the bag. And if he doesn't, that speaks a lot to his character. It speaks a lot to his ability in general. My only argument for Volk and what he has to lose is his need for the victory in order to not lose his credibility of going up a weight class, because he just seems so hell-bent in general to kind of go up in that weight class, show that I can do it all, I can do anything. If he loses, well, the division has to completely move on from him. And that leaves Volk with not only a mental regret of like, okay, I fucked up, I probably should have waited a little longer, but now you got those goldfish people, right, that are like, oh, Volk sucks. So it's hard.
But we didn't see that this last time Volk fought.
That's fair.
He's too loved. He's too loved. And like there are people that genuinely believe and have actually convinced themselves that Volkanovski won that fight. Dude won a round. And there are people that actually think he won that fight.
Like
so I think he's solidified enough of enough of his GOAT status that I don't think he loses the fans. Maybe he loses something personally, like what you're saying. I agree with that.
Right.
If that's like a personal goal of his, it's going to be really hard for him to do that again. You know, it's going to have to be a different champ.
Elle, you ready for this one? And maybe this is, I'm coming in hot. You ready? If he does lose to Makhachev here, he can never move up again. I don't think he can move up again. I think the UFC goes, Volk can't do it.
Past him. Yeah.
The only reason I think that wouldn't be the case is because of just how dominant he is at featherweight. Because they have to keep it interesting. And I think it's going to be a minute before he loses at 145. And now, I will agree that it has to be the perfect circumstance because they can't hold up the lightweight division any longer. They can't.
Right.
They can't hold it up for a third fight. But if Islam retires, if Islam goes up to 70, if somebody beats Islam, and there's just like maybe a dead patch, because right now at lightweight, there's not a dead patch. There's a lot of guys coming up, right? But those are seasons. Those are seasons. So that means that there's going to be a time, maybe in 4 years, maybe in 5 years, maybe less, where there's going to be a dead patch and 55 is going to look like 45 right now. So maybe there's a perfect circumstance, but I agree with you. It'd have to be, it's unlikely that he will get to go up again unless Islam retires or goes immediately up to 70.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes this happens too. Everyone gets what Volkanovski's done in featherweight. Of course, it's one of the greatest runs, and probably he is the greatest 145er of all time. But now Topuria is here, and we've seen it too. Volk can beat Topuria in January, UFC 297 in Canada. Dawson would be so happy about that. That could be the main event. Even if Volkanovski loses in October, and literally this Saturday to Makhachev, he could still fight Ilya and win. But it could be a really close fight. It could be a split decision. It could be a really close fight. It could be an eye poke in the 5th round. It could be something wild. They can rematch that. That could be the whole year. And by that time, we can have another 2 contenders. If Bryce Mitchell wins one more fight, that could be something interesting. You would never think that Sean Strickland will get a title shot. Bryce Mitchell says one more time, freedom with the Bible in the UFC octagon. He gets a title shot. Like,
You're making us look bad.
We're gonna need a whole episode to talk about Bryce Mitchell. Honestly,
I don't have the energy, Maddie. I don't have the energy. But I need a nap first.
Yeah.
Bro, so with Bryce, the difference between Bryce and Ilya though is I think that there's a version of Ilya that can beat Alexander Volkanovski.
Of course.
If Bryce Mitchell trained for the next 15 years at the best facility in the world, I don't know that he can ever beat Volkanovski. Yeah. I could be wrong. I thought he was going to lose a lot of fights that he didn't, but go ahead.
But what you just said, if I could say, and I agree with you too. I agree. And I'm just saying this. I agree. Everyone in the world right now said the same thing about Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya 9 weeks ago. Everyone. Like that fight, everyone was like, this is a foregone conclusion. Maddie, I think, you and Ross were over the house during that night. We're like, dude, we almost didn't order the pay-per-view because
literally
it's so obvious.
Easy money, like whatever. That's got to be the biggest upset in the history of the UFC.
Biggest underdog in a title fight, I'm pretty sure.
Dude. Yeah, and betting wise, for sure.
It's crazy. So it's like, and just like in a weird submission, and Bryce Mitchell's tricky. And I know, guys, this is a UFC 294 thing, so let's not get into a Bryce Mitchell. But okay, so Maddie, didn't talk to you. You did bring up Makhachev and Volkanovski. I guess we can do this, right? We're in the UFC 294. Makhachev, Volkanovski, prediction time. Who do you got? When does it happen? What goes down?
I think a decision again, but I think Islam gets it done, man. It's just now I absolutely believe that Volkanovski is a student of the game. I think he's a fight nerd. I think he's a lot like Grant, where whether he's got a fight or not, he's probably in the gym. Mm-hmm. I don't think that dude takes days off. However, there's a difference between being in the gym without a fight, and being in fight camp. Sure. And he didn't get it done in his hometown with a full camp, with Islam having a really rough cut with the travel. I don't think he gets it done in Abu Dhabi with Abu Dhabi judges, with Abu Dhabi fans, with Islam not having to travel super far to have a much easier cut, and he doesn't have that fight camp. I just don't see it happening. I think Islam has a more dominant performance this time, but I think Volk he's got the body type and he's got the style where he's really hard to hold down. So I definitely think we'll see, him pop up to his feet, just like he did, giving up his back, hand fighting on the cage. I think we see that again, but I don't think unless he clips him, but man, he's not knocking out 45ers. I just don't see it.
Maddie, main event,
there's
Volkanovski, Makhachev?
This can go, I agree with you for a lot of it. There's some where I'm not so sure. Like, I do think that Makhachev is going to pull away with this one for a couple reasons. Everybody on the UFC roster is talented. You're in the UFC for a reason. Volk is the GOAT for obvious reasons, but he's the GOAT at a smaller weight class. And when you are at a certain level in the UFC, size matters. Okay? Don't put that on a t-shirt, but size matters.
I'm doing it.
Okay. And no matter what you bring to the table, and Volk has many tools that he brings to the table, at the end of the day, he's the much smaller fighter, and he can get handled in that sense. But to counteract your point, I almost think it's in Volk's favor that his camp was so short, because it doesn't give him the time to worry about all the external factors that fighters worry about. Because even at the elite level of fighting at your hometown in front of your home fans can weigh on a person, right? So maybe to only have a 2-week fight camp, you're not worrying about the roller coaster of emotions. You're more just dialed into the physicality of it because you have to be. Now, granted, you do make a great point about the Abu Dhabi judges. That kind of sucks, right? But I don't know. I don't think it will be.
Yeah, I think it's more the fans than anything. I think the judges hear the fans react,
right,
and then it sways them.
The judges are from Vegas. They already announced who the judges are. They're 3 of the best judges. They're from Vegas. They're not Abu Dhabi judges.
When you hear the fans,
of course.
Yeah, it's more the fans than the judges themselves. I'm not saying the judges are biased, but the room makes you biased,
Of course.
Yeah. I see Volk coming out even hungrier than the last time, because like you touched upon before, Elle, I think there probably hasn't gone by since he's thought about that fight over and over again from different angles, from different positions, and he's thought about it constantly. And then now that he's got this shot, I'm sure he's going to put it into play. So, but when if
Islam wasn't doing that, it'd be one thing, but he's doing that too.
Yeah, that's fair. So I don't know. I do have Makhachev winning, but my heart would love to see Volk win just because.
So
for sure.
Yes and no. I think that the issue with that is I worry that they'll want to do another rematch because it'll be 1-1, and that holds up the division. So part of me would love to see Volk become a double champ. But part of me is man, that holds up the lightweight division. I obviously have ulterior motives when it comes to the lightweight division. So, I don't know what that would be. But so I'm with you. My heart a little bit, but yeah.
The one thing that I don't think has been talked about, and I think this is why what we do here at Fight Bananas, and this is a really good alternative talking point so far, and I haven't heard this at all. I think this is my just brain going, and I think I would love where you two think on it. I think Volkanovski is going to come out of this fight differently from where he fought the first fight, because the first fight he is at home, and I think there's not a feeling out point, but there was okay, and I think it was round 2 where he told his corner, he's like, wow, Makhachev doesn't hit hard, and then he was feeling himself. I think this, and he had probably a great training camp and all that nature. This, guys, let's be honest, I think he's going to go a little bit for broke. I know that sounds amateurish for me to say, but I think in the back of his head, he probably doesn't have that 25-minute cardio that he had in February when he fought him the first time. And I'm not saying he's going to be lazy. I'm not saying he's going to be crazy, but I think he is going to take a little bit more risk. One, knowing that he thinks that he could take the shots from Makhachev, and 2 is I think he knows that he needs to get the bigger shots and land the bigger hits because he knows he won round 5 the first time, and I think in the back of his head he can't win round 5 this time. That's my take.
Right, and I think you're right. I think once you felt it, I think there's a lot of guys that fought Islam and then afterwards were like, man, like I beat myself in my head. And I don't think Volk did that. I think he's the first guy that didn't do that, actually. I agree. Maddie, you made such a good point earlier. You're like, Volkanovski is one of those guys that truly believes he's going to win every single time he walks to the cage, which makes him different than a lot of people when they're fighting Islam, right?
Totally.
So that's, and now he's felt it. He's felt it. He knows what it feels like.
And when you're fighting somebody like Makhachev, it almost benefits you to make it a little messy, right? It almost benefits you to come out and just fucking swing for the fences. And when you do that, you expose yourself. And somebody like Volk, if you expose yourself, you're done. So, Dave, I kind of agree with you on that point. It's like I would love to see a dog fight because it's way more dangerous on both ends. But they're also very intelligent. So I don't know. We'll see.
All right, cool. There's the main event. Let's go co-main event. Elle and I talked a lot about Usman Chimaev, and Maddie, I would love your take. I'll ask you the same kind of question. It was supposed to be Costa and Chimaev. When this fight was announced, what was the first thing that popped in your head?
Easy cakewalk for Chimaev. Was the
wow.
first thought for me. I don't know. That's what I thought. But also, before we even get into that, can we talk about the disgustingness of Costa's injury?
Yeah,
Bro, I saw the photo today, and I almost wish there was like one of those graphic warnings that you get on Instagram sometimes, because I would have kept scrolling. Like how does that happen? How does that happen? Was he like licking the mats? Like was he? I don't know. What happened?
Yeah,
and you think at the highest level he's at, as soon as he got a little ringworm there, that you start taking medicine, like you start taking Tylenol PM.
He was never gonna fight. I was not surprised at all to see him not in there. Like I think he knew way earlier that he wasn't fighting. And
hot tea right now. Love this.
I really do. I mean, I don't know for sure. I'm just guessing, but like Staff's nasty. I agree. Staff is grody, but like, bro, you've been on the mats long enough to know when like something's popping up,
signs or whatever.
When you see stuff and you're in fight camp, like you're in the doctor that day getting antibiotics, like you're not letting it get that bad,
right? Like, such a good point too, because it's like there are signs that something's off and something's coming, right?
Oh like, you know, like that Staff, like it's not hard to tell.
And like those pictures showed that he's had it for quite some time.
Exactly.
Like
it's gnarly. Okay, so that.
And Elle, how long does it last?
It depends on how bad it is.
It depends how long you put it off. Like, man, I've seen guys ignore it long enough, and it's like, oh, hey, you're septic. We now have to put you, into surgery now, or you're gonna die, and then we got to run IV antibiotics.
Like, and his is so bad that it's like your teammates definitely have it too. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, you gave that to somebody, or he wasn't training because he knew he wasn't fighting,
or he wasn't training because Elle is correct and he was going to pull out no matter what. But
I'm not shocked that Costa's
I know. But honestly,
maybe Tracy Cortez has it too.
Oh shit, son! Now we're just stirring the pot. All right. So back to the fight. So that is one of the reasons, Elle, why I had Chimaev crushing Costa, because I truly don't believe that Costa is a fighter that is dedicated. I don't look at him as a dedicated individual. I think he is really good at creating a character. He's muscular. He's this meathead MMA dude that will not be champion. He will not be champion. I don't think he has a championship mindset. I don't think in the face of adversity, he rises to the occasion. And Chimaev, granted, while he has shown holes, they're starting to show. I don't think Costa has what it takes to get it done with Chimaev at all. So to introduce.
Oh, so you meant cakewalk for the Costa fight, not for the Usman.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when Usman got introduced into this fight, where are you at on this, Maddie?
When Usman got introduced, it got a little more interesting for me. Because I think, like you guys said earlier, I was listening in. He is getting to that GOAT status, right? The welterweight division, like he's just such a good individual fighter. And I think he poses a lot of different threats to Chimaev. So for me, it's just way more interesting to watch. The Costa versus Chimaev fight just seems very one-sided to me. Like it's a Chimaev night all night. If everything goes correct, right? If nothing like the Izzy, fight happens. If all goes well, Chimaev's supposed to win. He moves up, yada yada yada. The division is on. But now it's like, oh, wait a minute, Usman's coming up, and he's a very talented guy. He's a big guy. He's not a small guy. Like this,
he can wrestle.
He can do the things that Chimaev is uncomfortable with, right? So that's why I'm like, this is getting good. So now with the new fight intact, I don't know. I have a hard time choosing a winner for this one.
I'm with you. I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was just going to do a little watch real quick. Gillian the Savage Robertson in 15 minutes. Raphael Esparza in around 45 minutes. And then Keelin to break down what we saw this past weekend. If you watched it or watched it only on socials. Dylan Danis and Logan Paul and KSI and that craziness. That's an hour literally from right now, boxing over there overseas. Okay, so we're talking about it. And we gave Usman a lot of flowers. That's just kind of, we're having fun here. What happens if Khamzat Chimaev does Usman what he did to Gerald Meerschaert, who Maddie had a great interview with 8 weeks ago? What happened if he walks right through Kamaru Usman and washes him, takes him down, TKOs him in 45 seconds? And we're like, holy shit, guys. Like, we just
He gets the title shot. He gets it.
So, and then, let's just be honest, we all think Chimaev would do the same thing to Strickland, right? Like, that is a horrible matchup for Sean Strickland.
I would think so. But there is something. Sean Strickland has a gift. And that gift is he is so good at making everybody look bad at what they're good at.
Yeah.
And I will say he has been matched up really well lately because there's not a ton of great wrestlers at 185. And so we haven't seen him go with a wrestler. But I have in the room at ATT, and like the dude is like he's a well-rounded guy. Like he's not obviously Johnny Evelyn is a better wrestler than Sean Strickland, but like I've seen them spar, and like I don't want to talk about the training room. That's not, you don't want to talk about that too much. But like I know he is a well-rounded guy, and so it's interesting. I'm not sure because Khamzat has only had one fight where somebody made it really made the water muddy, right? Made it dirty. And that was Gilbert Burns. And like Sean Strickland's really good at making it dirty and making you look bad.
I think Sean Strickland is really good at doing his homework. I think when he has an opponent in front of him, now granted you have the bird's eye view, you've seen them train. So this is coming from a person that's only been watching his fights and watching him grow. But I think he's best at when he knows who he's fighting. He's able to put the work in for weeks on end. Like he was able to dissect Izzy's game plans and dissect Izzy about his fight IQ and what are his mistakes and what does he do well. And he came in and did this crazy thing and was able to dismantle him because he did his homework. Fighting somebody like Chimaev, I see him doing his homework type of thing, So I don't know.
Chimaev's hittable, man. He's hittable.
Yeah,
I agree. And I think Sean Strickland, granted, I'm still fucking shocked that we're talking about him as the champion. But you got to give it to the guy that he performs when he needs to and does his homework, So I don't know. I know we're kind of getting off track here, but I'm really excited to see him defend his title for the first time because then it's gonna be like, holy shit, man! Like
then we know. We know.
Must see.
Yeah.
Guys,
I have to go, Dave. I'm sorry. I have to go be an adult and do a work meeting. But it's so fun. Thank you guys
I'm so glad
much.
you stuck around for a while, Elle.
I did.
Elle Dawson, you're the best. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you next week, Elle.
Bye, guys.
Later.
Thank you.
All right.
Love that, Love that lady.